what I do not understand is that if you do not pretend to be able to extend a weather prediction to more than 10 days, that at the same time there are many people who believe that they can forecast or project climate on scales of, say, 50 years, 100 years. There is a mismatch, to my mind, between these two notions.
I think you are right. I have studied the science of weather and climate for over a 50-year period, and I started in the science of weather prediction just about the time when the numerical weather prediction had become a reality. In fact, a famous paper written by Professor Charney and well-known, co-authored by a well-known mathematician, American mathematician, John von Neumann, they had successfully integrated the equations of motion for a 24-hour period using some filtering approximation and the computer that was available in the 1940s. And that was the era of numerical weather prediction. And since then, weather prediction models have come up. But as I said earlier, Professor Charney and Lorenz had always felt that because of the inherent nature of uncertainty in the weather elements, primarily because of turbulent structure of the atmosphere, there was always a limit to weather prediction, no more, say, 2 to 3 weeks. When people now talk about climate models projecting up to 30, 40, 50 years, I think they are trying or referring to some kind of a mean climate and temperature change. And they do some sophisticated numerical integration procedure. However, there are large number of uncertainties in this. The most important uncertainty in these climate models is the global cloud cover. To give an example, if over a given period of time, if the low cloud cover increases by, say, 2 to 5%, we would start seeing a cooling in the global temperature. On the other hand, if the low cloud cover diminishes, we would start seeing an increase in the global mean temperature. And we meteorologists do not know at this time how, for example, the global cloud cover would change, say, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's why these climate model projections for the year 2035 or 2050 have a lot of uncertainty.
So if I understand well, then this new theory is actually a competitor for the AGW hypothesis, the anthropogenic global warming hypothesis. Is that right?
I think you might say that, yes. But as a meteorologist myself, I have often felt that the anthropogenic global warming theory was not well established. Climate modelers produced the observed warming of the Earth's surface for the last 30 years using their models and tuning them to certain parameters. Very often these parameters are not well known. From my own perspective, I felt that large-scale circulation changes, like the one that happened in, say, 1976-77, when we meteorologists now agree that there was a definite climate shift. So the climate shifted from a colder phase of the previous 30 years, like 1945 to 77, to a warmer phase. And that's why the Earth has seen a slightly warmer temperature for the last 30 years. Now some meteorologists are saying that the climate may be shifting back into the colder phase. Now, what is that due to? We still do not understand. Some people say it may be due to solar linkage, solar ocean cycle, some people call it. While Henrik Svensmark is saying, yes, the solar activity and its associated cosmic ray intensity at the ground level could change the global cloud cover, and that could produce warming or cooling. So there are lots of these uncertain but new theories coming around, and we need to study them more carefully.
You think indeed that we should study various alternative theories. Yet, am I mistaken that you are a member of the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, and as such subscribing to the main message of the IPCC, which is that man is responsible for the warming of the earth, which took place since the middle of last century?
I'm not. 2 years ago, I was approached by the IPCC office to review one chapter of Working Group 2. And I provided my review. And as I was reviewing, I felt very uncomfortable because there were so many statements made in that chapter which I could not support. And I had strongly suggested in my review that the chapters be changed, that these statements be changed and several sections of that be modified. So in some sense, I may be associated with IPCC. But yes, I think the IPCC has been promoting the idea that the man-made warming has begun over the last century and is continuing. But when I study the climate through different ages or through either geological or even short historical time, like for example, between 1910 and 1945, the Earth's climate was very warm. The mean temperature rose steeply by almost half a degree. And we climate scientists or climate modelers still do not know why the Earth's mean temperature increased rapidly from 1910 to 1945. Some of the solar scientists now suggest that the sun was in an active mode during those years, and that may be the reason why the Earth's climate was rather warm. But after 45, the climate was cooling down when the anthropogenic carbon dioxide was increasing. So there was really no correlation between the increased CO2, human-added CO2, and the Earth's climate. So there are a lot of uncertainties in the IPCC hypothesis.
Back to your contribution to the IPCC, you have been invited to become an expert reviewer of the IPCC. You have submitted your comments, and I take it because of the fact that you have been invited that they have, of course, taken account of your comments and that you was able to find them again in the final text of the IPCC report. Or am I wrong?
I think you mentioned this summary for policy makers, or what is known as SPM. The way I understand and the way the IPCC office or the IPCC bureaucracy works, and I understand you have written an excellent article about IPCC processes, etc. And a lot of scientists now are asking questions about the way the IPCC